Welcome to this edition of the Commissioner's Report, where we hear firsthand about projects and programs impacting the community and economic development of Polk County. Today we'll be hearing from Commissioners Todd Dantzler and with Ed Smith. First up is Commissioner Todd Dantzler.
Thank you, Jim.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate being here.
You know, I had the privilege of working with your dad on several major economic development projects that brought a lot of jobs to our community. You follow in your dad's footstep as a real estate broker and as someone who loves economic development. What did you learn from your father about how to close a deal?
Well, I don't know that I follow in his footsteps because I can never do that. I do what he did. He was a great man, and I miss him today. And I appreciate your relationship that you had with him. But what my dad and my mom taught us was about being honorable and ethical and honest in how we deal with people. On the real estate side, on the transaction side, from my dad, it was your word is your bond. And confidentiality is extremely important. Yes, you don't want to be telling someone, hey, I just showed a building to this company, and that company's not quite ready to release the information yet. So he taught me to be educated and understand the issues, and as much as I could about the property that I was showing, the companies I was working with, and it served me fairly well over the years. And I feel very fortunate to have been his son and to have worked with him like I did. And my daughter's boyfriend now has a real estate license, and he's working for us. And so I'm trying to impart some of those lessons that I was fortunate enough to learn from my dad onto him and the other folks that work for us in our two different offices. You
know, it was in a time where a deal could be done with a handshake. Mm-hmm. I believe that those kind of days have passed us. Is that so, or can you still do deals in Polk County on a handshake?
You can still do deals in Polk County on a handshake, but you still need to get their signature on the contract to make it legal. I was meeting with a gentleman a couple days ago who had an issue with some stuff that was going on with their land use and some frontage, and I've known him for a long time. He's a contemporary of my dad's. And when the meeting was over, he stuck his hand out and shook my hand. He said, we got a deal. And I said, we have a deal. And I believe to this day that deal will be honored. We will memorialize it in writing just for the future. But we came to an understanding, and we all agreed on the path that we were going to take. We shook hands, and in his mind, it's done. In my mind, it's done. Now we just have to make sure all the details are taken care of. It's a much more complex world that we live in. It's a much more complex business climate that we live in. So you and I can agree, but that doesn't mean if something queries the deal somewhere down the road, you really need to have something in writing so that it's not like, well, Jim remembers it one way, Todd remembers it a different way. So it does make sense to have it in writing, but people's word is their bond, and they'll go down swinging to defend themselves and make sure that what they've agreed to is what happens.
I'm glad that still can happen. Last November, the voters of Polk County passed a referendum which allows the Board of County Commissioners to award economic development ad valorem tax abatements to qualifying new and expanding businesses. Did you support that initiative when it was put on the referendum?
Absolutely. I thought it was very important. I voted for it. It's interesting. This was Commissioner English's issue, yes, who just rotated off this past year. And in 2010, when Commissioner Bell and I were running, Commissioner English was also pushing this tax, this tax abatement. Yes, sir. And I mean, he was out campaigning hard, and it failed. So last year, we put it back on the ballot. There was virtually nothing done to promote it, and it passed. And I was on the canvassing board, so I was there when the results came in, and I called up Commissioner English. I said, all you had to do was get out of the way of the deal, Bob, and you could pass this thing. But I think it's important for us to be competitive. I think government has sticks and carrots that they can provide. And this is one of the carrots that we can provide, and especially these tough economic times. Folks say, what can you do as a government? Well, one, we can get out of the way as much as possible. We can make the barriers as little as possible, easing into opening or expanding your business. If there are some incentives that we can provide, this is good. And this is not us giving someone money.
Sure.
This is, they've got to prove every year that they meet this threshold, and then they get that benefit for that length of time for that 1 year. So it's not like we're giving them $50,000 and in 3 years their company's folded up. We just make their responsibility to the county a little bit less, and it's all to drive jobs. It's not to help them get a tax break. It's so they can hire more people, and if they've got more money to hire more people, that's the total driving force of this, is to expand the job base here in Polk County.
And you know, I think one of the reasons that it passed, the voters realized that the counties around us,
absolutely,
the major counties have this tax abatement on
and
their books already.
Right, and we were at a competitive disadvantage by
sir.
not having it. So we at least want to be on a level playing field. And you know, and I had people say, well, why don't I get that tax benefit? I said, you do if you will expand your business or start a new one. This is for job creation. It is not to just say, hey, you started a lawn care company and you're going to have you and your brother-in-law running the mowers. You know, you don't get a break there. But if you have a company and you've been here for 20 years and you say, if I buy this piece of equipment and expand my warehouse another 10,000 square feet and put 10 people to work for 115% of the wages in Polk County, then I can get a little bit of a break. And that's what it was there for. We've seen several companies already take advantage of this. We voted on a number of them. I think we have another one that's coming Tuesday.
Oh, yes, sir. Since May 7, when you passed you and your colleagues passed the master ordinance, we've done 4 deals.
Right.
Those include the Brew Hub in Lakeland, which is a major craft brewery, Steripack, USA in Lakeland, that's a medical packaging company. They're expanding. You did one for Amazon that looks like they may build a major distribution center.
We did that proactively, so if they do come, they know what their package is. That's the reason why we're part of that.
And recently you did Pepperidge Farm, the great Pepperidge Farm company. They're going to add a new line and new people. And we have another one coming up on the east side of the county involving a manufacturer of paper products.
Right.
So it's all good. Did you expect it would have that kind of, 5 deals in 5 months?
Right. Well, we weren't sure. You know, what it think it shows is that it's starting to work, and it is driving a little bit of activity. The voters passed it in November, and I asked my colleagues, could we get the CFTC to write the ordinance, since they're made up of business people and they would have a better ear to the ground. Jack Brandon and some folks from the LEDC, Haines City EDC, Winter Haven EDC, and some other folks, they wrote the actual ordinance. So the county commissioners can take credit for voting for it, but the hard work in the trenches was done by others. And I wasn't sure what the expectations were going to be to have 5 companies in 5 months, but it's working.
Yes, sir.
And we put a cap that there's a $2 million limit per year is the amount of credits that we're going to be able to award. So if you've got a company and if you're thinking of expanding, you better do it quick.
Yes.
Because at some point, at this rate, we're going to be out of money until the next year's budget cycle. So,
well, that'd be a good problem to have, then.
Absolutely.
That'd be excellent. And you did a good job explaining 10 jobs minimum. We would love to see the 115% if you're a manufacturer of the average wage. If you're a manufacturing company, you can come in at the average wage rate. And it's on a sliding scale, as you say. It's, the company doesn't get 100% ad valorem relief. They get a partial ad valorem relief over a set prescribed term of year up to 10 years.
Right.
And the only one to get to 10 years so far is the Amazon, because it's potentially a $100 million project and about 300 jobs.
Right, and you've got to ask for it in advance. You can't,
yes.
If you expanded your business 5 months ago and said, hey, I need to go get this pile of money, it's not out there, because obviously you didn't need that as an incentive to create this economic development, to create these jobs. You did it anyway. So, again, if you're thinking about doing something,
call the county right away.
Call the county and see if we can figure out a way if you would fit into these things. But make no mistake about it, any job's a good job right now.
Oh yes, sir.
I remember working for my dad, in high school and college, and I was weeding groves and washing his real estate signs, and I'd make $5 an hour, and that was a lot of money to me back then. And there's a lot of people who don't qualify for higher paying jobs, but there are lower paying jobs out there that need to be done that are dignified and important. And, if I was unemployed right now, I'm overemployed right now, it seems like, but if I was unemployed, I would do anything I had to feed my family. And if that was taking a minimum wage job, I would do that until I could better myself. So
that's you're exactly right, Commissioner. So many of our smaller communities are applauding the county commissioners for setting up the community development office that works on retail development throughout our large county.
Retail is very important
Yes,
to our area. It's not just about manufacturing. It's not just about high tech, high wage. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants another Publix, but there are just companies out there that are good, solid companies to work for, that pay a good wage, that have retirement, that have some benefits, that are very important. And the more people that we can put in those jobs, the more people that will then be able to go out to dinner a little bit more, maybe tip the waitress a little bit more, so the waitress then has a little bit more money to buy a new pair of shoes for her kid or a new set of tires. So it's a ripple effect, and it's significant. And so I think that this commission is focused on creating jobs when and wherever possible. And when I say creating the environment for jobs to take place.
Speaking of the environment, thank you for that segue. Let's go from economic development to another interest of yours, the environment and natural resources. Stormwater runoff has been identified as a major source of pollutants to our lakes and streams throughout Polk County. We have 554 lakes. It's a top resource for our community. Federal and state stormwater permit requirements mandate that the county and our 17 municipalities have stormwater management programs to reduce the level of pollutants that are getting into the water bodies. On June 18, the Polk County adopted an ordinance to fund these stormwater management program activities through a Stormwater Municipal Service Taxing Unit, or MSTU. The assessment to each parcel is based on the taxable value of the parcel and is part of this recently completed budget process for the new fiscal year, which included public hearings. The Board of County Commissioners passed a new stormwater MSTU fee. What is the purpose of the stormwater MSTU, Commissioner?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that question. Could you repeat it if possible?
You're a devil.
The purpose is to be able to give a little bit of money to start funding the program. There are some that say just snub your nose at the federal government, and the possible downfall is that they control our stormwater permit, and they can also fine us $10,000 a day. Would they do that? I don't know. But it is responsible for us to take care of our lakes, rivers, and streams. And you can do that a number of ways. Last year, we had kind of rolled out a Cadillac program, and that didn't fly. And it probably shouldn't have. So we stepped back, took a different look at it, and said, why don't we deliver a Chevrolet that works instead of a Cadillac? So we're kind of incrementally getting into it. The money that we're funding will go to some education. Part of it is don't blow your grass clippings into the road. If you mow your yard and you edge it, blow it back into the yard. Because those grasses have fertilizers when they get washed into the drainage, and then the drains take it to the lakes or streams or whatever, those fertilizers will then start polluting the water body. So this is some of the stuff that we're having to deal with, and this is a small incremental amount of money.
Yes, sir.
And it's to see what we can do, and part of it is street sweeping. I mean, there's all kinds of parts to this. So we want to show the government that we're trying something, that we're working on a program, and then we're not just ignoring them. So that's the reason why we've done this MSTU at this time.
And you said it's a small amount. I believe a property assessed at $150,000 with the $50,000 homestead exemption will pay $10 a year. Will this money?
It's 0.1 mil.
Okay, and will this money go into the general fund, or does it go into a special fund?
No, it goes into a stormwater fee that can only be used for certain programs. We can't fix a park, we can't build a road, we can't do this. Some of it will be to start fixing outflow boxes because some of them have degraded and need repair. So we needed a funding source rather than just pulling it out of general fund, because there is extreme pressure on the general fund because of the reduction in property taxes. So we're trying to figure out a different way to do it. We're trying to be creative. It's revenue neutral because of some savings that we're having other places. And we feel like it's important to get started on it. I mean, it would have been nice had they done it 25 years ago, because you don't know what the quality of our water would be today. And I grew up on a lake. My brothers and I grew up skiing and swimming, and used to be able to drink the water in the lake that I grew up on. Now I'm not sure I'd really want to be on it again.
Now, as an important component of this new MSTU program, you all have appointed a committee to oversee these funds, right?
It's a scientific committee to look at the science of it, because a lot of people say, well, that won't work. I'm not a scientist. I didn't take a science class in college. I never took a class that had ology on the end of it. And so if someone brings me something and says, hey, this will work, I don't know whether the science is there. So each of the commissioners appointed one person from the scientific community to look at proposals, to look at the feasibility, and if they says, hey, this is what I can do, this is how much money, we don't know what the end result's going to be. I mean, you can't clean up Lake Hollingsworth so that you can drink out of it again. That's just probably never going to happen. But you can get it so it's a much more livable, breathable lake. And so these 5 folks and staff will look at projects, and then they will make recommendations to us, and then we will have to figure out how to fund them.
Thank you, Commissioner, for being so engaging and funny with us today and explaining to us some programs that are going to impact the lives of our citizens and our businesses in Polk County. Next up, we'll be hearing from Commissioner Ed Smith, who will be talking about transportation opportunities in Polk County. Thank you. Welcome back to the Commissioner's Report, where we're now joined by Commissioner Ed Smith. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Thank you. In this segment, we're going to concentrate on transportation opportunities in our county, which is larger than the state of Rhode Island. Commissioner Smith, you have said that cooperation between counties is vital, especially in projects that are regional in scope. One of the projects is the proposed Poinciana Parkway, which will serve the very large unincorporated area that straddles 2 counties. Who are the 3 partners involved with this significant regional project?
Well, the driving force here, I guess we can say the bus driver here, is the Osceola Expressway Authority. And of course, the 2 counties, Osceola County and Polk County. Polk County actually is a minor player. This project is between 9.5 and almost 10 miles long, and only one mile of it belongs to Polk County. And so we're paying our share, and we're doing that by just making a contribution to OCX. And they will contract, and they will oversee, and they will build the entire project, all the way from the Poinciana exit all the way up to US 1792. And now we have gotten Polk County's section, the tab of that was $6 million. And Polk County is contributing $3 million. And we've gotten a grant from the FDOT for the other $3 million. So that was the contribution, and that's the way the funding went. We've got a little hiccup right now. The contract was awarded to a contractor, and the second lowest bidder, a second bidder, I won't say the second lowest, a second bidder objected, and it went to OCX, and they disclaimed the objection. And then it went to court, and the magistrate referred it to a federal court. So we're now waiting to get it into the federal court and get the judge. So, but let me say that even with that little hiccup, that the construction schedule is still, we're still on track. We haven't slowed anything down, and we still expect to hopefully begin construction in December. So that's where we are, and if we get the ruling, and we will move forward with a construction and with a contractor in December, and that's where we're making all efforts to get there. This project is just vital. It's important to that area. It's important to Northeast Polk County, and it's important, as a matter of fact, to Osceola County and to Orange County. So it is of a regional interest, and we are going to move forward with it.
In Poinciana, 42,000 acres. It's 19 miles long by 9 miles wide. One of the largest homeowners association in America, 84,000 residents. About half of them live on the Polk County side. So you say this is a very large area.
Well, not only that, when you look at the potential, I doubt if more than somewhere between a fourth and a third of the land is built out. So the potential in there is staggering about how many people will eventually live there.
I heard upwards of 260,000 people could possibly live in Poinciana built out.
I haven't seen that number, but it certainly sounds reasonable.
It's a big number. You know, Commissioner, you have numerous interests in technology, especially those that impact our natural environment. One of your interests is for compressed natural gas in vehicles. What sparked your interest in this alternative fuel source? And can you provide us some examples of how CNG, or compressed natural gas, is being used by public and private entities?
Mr. DeGennaro, that's a very complex question. Let me start with telling you how I got interested in it.
Yes, sir.
When I was elected, matter of fact, before I was elected, while I was running, I just had a look around at how many vehicles Polk County owns and operates, just the county itself. And I'm not counting the buses and the sheriff's office, but just Polk County government. We spend an average, and there are high and low years, we spend an average of $5.5 million every year on fuel. And I said, would that be more responsible to our citizens and our taxpayers if we could reduce that $5.5 million to about $2.5 million or less? Because that's about where we are when we make the comparisons at that time, because we were running up on right up on $4 a gallon, and the CNG cost is right now about $2.10 a gallon, a gallon equivalent. Let's just put it that way. I said, that would be economically responsible, and as good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, maybe we should look at an alternate source if it was out there, and there was. Now, of course, like any change, some people will oppose it just because it's different. It's just because it's changed. The other thing is that I looked at it and I said, well, what is the downside? Well, the downside is the vehicles are more expensive. They cost more. And the other thing is, right now, of course, is fueling stations. And at that time, a fast fill fueling station, to install one was about $1.5 million. And you have to stop and think about that. And start thinking about the payback. And you got a big upfront cost, more expensive vehicles, and you've got to build some refueling stations because we don't have any right now. Fueling stations are now starting to come. I think Saddle Creek Corporation, if I understand, has bought 60 trucks that are CNG trucks, and now they have gone back with another 60 truck buy, so they obviously believe in it, and they have a fueling station. Republic Services, who is our contracted trash hauler, has about 40 to 45% of their fleet now has been converted to CNG, and they have fueling stations. We have partnered with the Saddle Creek Corporation to use their fueling station, and I'll tell you why, is because Polk County now has bought 2 9-yard CNG dump trucks. And we're going to evaluate these trucks for 1 year and see how they perform. see what the maintenance records look like, see what the fuel usage, the fuel costs is, and compare it to a diesel truck of the same size, and see, you know, where we're coming out on this. I don't have any doubts about what we're going to see, because this is a proven technology. This is not something new. CNG has been around forever. So we're evaluating all those things, and we're taking a look at them. The Polk County School Board had 2 buses last year. I definitely, from the things I'm hearing from them and what they're seeing, I think they are definitely and absolutely going in that direction. They put a lot of miles on a school bus every year, and I do not know what their fuel budget is on diesel, but I'm sure it's up in the overhead. And however many millions they're spending now, it would not be difficult to convince any Polk County taxpayer, wouldn't it be nice if you could cut that fuel bill in half, or maybe even less than half? And I think you can sell that idea, especially if you look at the fact that I'm also hearing that the CNG engines have a longer life, that the maintenance is much cheaper. I mean, it just makes sense. The other things about it, and we've talked about the fact that CNG is economically responsible. CNG is environmentally responsible. It's cleaner, it's safer, it makes political sense. You know, I think we all know that we have got to stop sending billions of dollars overseas to countries that hate us to buy their fossil fuel. Not most, I won't say most, but a large part of the world's supply of natural gas is found right here in the good old USA. We don't have to buy it from anybody. We don't have to haul it here. We don't have to import it. It's right here. So when you look at all the factors, why would you not want to convert your fleet to CNG? Now, again, there are still the 2 big drawbacks. Number 1, more expensive vehicle. Number 2 is the fueling stations. The fueling stations are coming, believe me, they're coming. Those are all the things that I look at and I say, you know, we need to definitely get going in this direction. So hopefully that's something we're going to see developing in the near future.
I know that Ryder Truck purchased 200 trucks in Southern California with CNG capabilities, and Ryder's based in Miami. Polk County would be a great place for CNG fueling stations, don't you think?
I think so, and I think once you see a few more trucks in the road, you're going to see CNG fueling stations at every truck stop. They are coming. There's no doubt about that. There was some concern from some people, the fact that, well, you know, we might have a problem here because the range is not great enough, especially when you were talking about trucks, big trucks. What Saddle Creek has done with their newer trucks here now, they have doubled the range to almost 500 miles on a fill-up by doubling the size of the tank. And so that can be done. And I understand the next generation of trucks are more fuel efficient anyway. So it's a
comer.
To me, it makes sense. There's every reason to go to it, and like I said, but except for those 2 drawbacks. And let me tell you this: between the time that we ordered those 2 dump trucks for Polk County and the time they were delivered, which was 4 or 5 minutes, the price of the trucks fell $5,000 a piece. Why? Because increased orders. The more of a product that you sell, you know, the cheaper they become. You know, if you can recall, the first guy that brought the big screen TV sets, what were they selling for? $4,000 or $5,000? Now what can you buy one for? I don't know, what, under $1,000?
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, that's what happens as technology is involved. You get over the developmental and research and development costs, and then the product becomes cheaper. If you make 1 million widgets, per unit price is much cheaper than if you make 10 of them. So.
Let's wrap up our segment with a potential user of CNG technology would be our own Polk Transit, the countywide transportation system primarily comprised of bus routes. You have an interest in the countywide transportation system, and you grew up as when you were younger in North Florida in a small town where if you didn't have a car, you didn't have access to extracurricular and after-school activities. Is there a program available now that can help young people participate in sports? And you were a coach, were you not, in Auburndale?
Absolutely. I was
sir.
head track coach for 2 years at Auburndale High School. Well, as you mentioned, I did some of my growing up in North Florida, and my father was a turpentine farmer, and he leased tracts of timber. We never bought anything, but he leased a tract, and we'd work it out, and then he'd move on, and so we moved frequently, but it was always out in the country. And as I got to the age that I wanted to participate in extracurricular activities, and I was always interested in sports, track, baseball, football, anything such as that, I really couldn't do it, because if I missed the bus, you know, we only had one vehicle, and Dad had that working, you know, and there was only one vehicle. And if I missed that bus, I was in big trouble, because we lived 15 miles from the school, and it wasn't like walking down the street. It was out in the country. I saw absolutely, once I retired from the Navy and I went to work in the Polk County school system, I saw the effect of that on kids right now, the same thing. Kids that wanted to come to tutoring after school, kids that wanted to participate in sports, kids that wanted to get tutoring after school, that wanted to be in the theater productions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and they simply couldn't do it. We do now have a program. It's in a developmental stage. We're trying to find out, but thank goodness the COLTS program is going to establish that and let the kids do it. But again, we're in the infancy stage, we're at baby steps. But this is the first year, and we are doing it.
Well, we appreciate you for being on the show today, Commissioner. Thank you very much. We'd like to remind our viewers to tune in next month, when we'll have 2 more commissioners talking about subjects that are vital to the community and economic development of Polk County. Until then, this is Jim DeGennaro, hoping that you will take care and enjoy this beautiful community we call home.